I guess I sort of respect its middle finger to traditional storytelling, not giving Joel an epic sacrifice and essentially using him as Bambi's mom to launch Ellie's revenge arc. Hey guys, Adam here with your season refresh on what happened in Season 2 of The Last of Us. I had no intention of making another video on this show because I didn't think I'd find anything else interesting to talk about. Hoo boy, was I wrong. We're starting with some Terrence Malick nature porn shots, and just like that, we're in the middle of a YA novel with a bunch of overly moisturized 20-somethings that are sad about all those dead extras from the end of Season 1. One particularly dead day player was the head surgeon, who turns out to be Abby's father. Abby makes a pact with her group to track down Joel and kill him, slowly. 5-year time jump, which seems excessive and like we're missing critical information, but I guess it's less jarring than that 20-year gap from the Season 1 premiere. Somehow Ellie's Converse still fit and she's learning how to fight. Joel, 5 years out from dooming the world, is doing electrician work and getting therapy. He pays for it with dime bags, which is a solid deal. My therapist typically asks for something a little more A-grade when I need a session. The show really wants to hammer in your head that Joel is a bad, terrible guy that you shouldn't be rooting for. Is he? Sure, according to Reddit, but he doesn't come off worse than any other morally gray character from an HBO series. This isn't the CW. The viewer's standards for good and evil are a little more negotiable in a post-apocalyptic show. Killing no-name revolutionaries to save someone you love isn't exactly the worst crime we've witnessed. Anyway, Joel is sad because his 19-year-old daughter is acting like a 19-year-old daughter. Ellie is pulling a maverick and not taking anything seriously, least of all her audience score. She's off sniping with Tommy and arguing about her duties within Jackson. There's a lot of different notions about who to let in now that Jackson is bursting at the seams population-wise. But don't worry, that should work its way out in the next couple episodes. Ellie teams up with a bunch of randos on a recon run. The only one to remember is Dina, played by Isabella Merced. You might remember her from that random Sicario sequel, or Hawk Girl, or Dora the Explorer if you're way too young to watch The Last of Us. So we're on patrol and introduced to a new infected type called Stalkers. They make human noises and lure people into traps. So we're back to doing the whole smart zombie Return of the Living Dead, dead heat thing. No, we do not talk about Army of the Dead in this household. Ellie takes it down. She takes a bite, but you know she's... Whoa. Yeah, we got it. They tell the council what they found, and half of them have looks on their faces that this meeting could have been an email, so they don't really care. Also, does no one check people for bites upon return? Not just for general logic purposes, but it seems like a missed opportunity to build some suspense for the first time this episode. Anyway, Ellie plays connect the dots to make it look like a less concerning injury. We have a New Year's Eve dance, but Mumford & Sons is playing, so no one shows up. No, seriously, after all the talk about the town overflowing, there's like 80 people at this dance. Won't lie, I'm getting kinda tired of Ellie. I really hope they don't make any decisions that thrust her into more of a lead role this season. On that note, Abby's back and finds Jackson in just her 3rd minute of screen time. It would have been cool if it was revealed that she had tracked Ellie's recon group, but that's not hinted at, so I guess they had other intel. The sacrificial lamb for this episode was director Mark Mylod. Mylod?
Hi, I'm Mark Mylod.
He's worked on some Game of Thrones and Succession, so there's your HBO connection. This is his first Last of Us episode, so way to call hot potato and throw it right in his lap, Neil. He'll be working on that upcoming Harry Potter series, so this isn't even his final form. Abby and her squad are posted up outside Jackson, plotting Joel's murder like it's a casual company retreat. Apparently Jackson's recon squads missed the part where this scenic overlook with a full visual coverage of their entire town might be a strategic location worth watching. While getting some fresh air, Abby falls into a mess of bodies in the snow that are unfortunately still alive.
They popped out of the snow! Like daisies!
Thankfully, Joel is nearby and saves her, but a large part of the horde heads towards Jackson, where they literally ring the dinner bell. Joel trusting Abby is a stretch, but there's a ticking clock, so I guess it's less out of character and more out of options. Or maybe he's mellowed out since starting therapy. Either way, he clearly has no idea what's coming. Poor bastard. We get a sense things are wrong from the gun, so it's no real surprise when it goes tits up. I mean, we're outside for 30 seconds and they debate calling people back because of the storm. Anyway, this defense of Jackson had some glaring holes in it, and morons start getting killed left and right. Bar the doors and put your back to something next time, guys. One of my issues here is that we get 2 episodes worth of events shoved into one. I guess that's the point, hit the audience with so much stuff so they won't see the big reveal coming. So Abby grabs a golf club, left behind by someone who thought they were vacationing in Miami. She goes with a 6-iron, which I'm told is a solid, versatile choice. Apparently Druckmann had a golf club injury in his past life, which warranted its inclusion. Abby gets all preachy and whatever, she kills Joel. So here's the thing. I don't want to say this is an incorrect way of writing something. It's not a plot hole or a MacGuffin or any of those other terms 14-year-old TikTok critics loves to throw at everything. It's just Weird. It's been 5 years since the hospital massacre. You're telling me Abby's had zero personal growth in that time? I respect not giving her a last-minute change of heart just because Joel saved her, but maybe something more complex could have happened before she swung for par. I mean, you have the dramatic irony of the decade here, and you rush it in 10 minutes. Half the audience is too focused with the Jackson battle to fully absorb it, and the other half already knows Joel dies in the game, so it doesn't land either way.
I was 19.
That's legally an adult, Abby. It's the apocalypse and your dad was a nerd. Way worse things have happened to kids on this show. The whole scene just kinda happens. Joel doesn't say anything to Abby or plead a case or apologize. It might as well be Pedro Pascal's stunt double. Not giving Abby any words to dwell on feels like it'll hamper whatever arc she goes on moving forward. Maybe something like, I killed your father because he was about to kill a little girl about your age that I vowed to protect, and the Fireflies lied to me that she would be safe, so I did it to save her life, and he pulled a scalpel on me. Instead, we needed the stars to align just so Joel could blindly walk into his own execution. It's basically a theme this season, just tossing constant plot grenades at the audience. We just had the stalker reveal, which I assume will be important moving forward. Then there's also the fungus in the pipes, but now that group that wanted to kill Joel is here, and now there's a horde attacking Jackson, and now Joel is dead. It's almost narrative whiplash. Anyway, Abby beats the hell out of him, and the dipshit brigade just hangs around and averts their eyes while Dina is over here dreaming of a better plotline. And it barely even feels real. Like, people are gonna see this and assume Pedro Pascal asked to be written out of the show so he could focus on his Fantastic Four movie. I guess I like the life goes on aspect, but this was one of the show's leads. And then it just kind of fades to black with no music, like they just pulled off the reins of Castamere. I talked about season 1's finale feeling by the numbers, and this is the same vibe. Like, the writers think they're delivering this huge mic drop, but forgot to actually put the batteries in the microphone first. It doesn't land with grief or catharsis, it lands with, oh, okay. I'm not gonna act like Joel was the most riveting character, but he doesn't really get an ending. He just kinda exits stage right like a random Walking Dead extra whose contract expired. Neither him or Ellie are A-level protagonists, but it was fun to see if these two could form their own messed up family while overcoming past trauma. He isn't hiding the location of Jackson from raiders or buying time for Dina to escape from Abby's group. They just want him, they find him, they kill him, they fuck off. And they leave Ellie alive so we can do a revenge plot.
When you grow up, if you still feel raw about it, I'll be waiting.
It honestly plays like one of those trivia facts you read years later on Reddit. Hey, did you know that in the original version of The Last of Us Season 2, they planned to have the daughter of the surgeon Joel killed at the end of Season 1 turn up and kill him? And then Ellie would go to Seattle to hunt her down? And then everyone's like, huh, yeah, no wonder they scrapped that idea. Setup-wise, Abby and her crew probably could have posed as normal people and gotten access to Jackson pretty easily and tracked Joel down on the inside. Maybe this could have led to an interesting commentary about not letting the wrong people into Jackson. You know, that whole point they try to set up in episode 1? I actually thought it would have been more interesting if they had only maimed Joel. Maimed him and revealed to Jackson what he did. Let them know he had doomed the world of its one real chance to be rid of the virus just because he couldn't let Ellie go. You know, turn Jackson against him. They could have kidnapped Joel to put him on some sort of makeshift Firefly trial in Seattle and Ellie goes to save him. It's not that I'm against killing Joel, it's that I'm against wasting it. Build tension, make us ask questions. I guess I sort of respect its middle finger to traditional storytelling, not giving Joel an epic sacrifice and essentially using him as Bambi's mom to launch Ellie's revenge arc.
We made it! We made it, Mother!
It looks like we're going to follow in the long line of properties asking if revenge is not only justified, but does it satisfy? Or does violence simply breed more violence? I kind of wish we could have seen Tommy's immediate reaction to learning about Joel's death, but this scene with the watch isn't a bad supplement. But we love our time jumps, so here's a 3-month one for you. It's revenge time, so saddle up because we're doing it old Western posse style.
Putting together a special team with special privileges. Join me, but you will have your revenge.
Just kidding, the council votes the motion down. So instead of the Magnificent Seven, we're getting the slightly angry duo. But first we cut to a group of Thens with Glasgow smiles. Their legal government name is Seraphites, but we'll come back to them in a bit. The big deal heard around the world was that this episode marked Joel being deleted from the intro sequence, which reminds me to go back and watch the intro sequence for the first time. Yep, Joel's gone, banished to the digital void of Warner Brothers tax write-offs, which is apparently possible to escape from. Also, we have a Matrix poster on the wall here. Much like the Red Sox joke I made in Part 1, I was hoping this meant the apocalypse prevented the Matrix Reloaded from coming out, but it looks like it snuck in a few months before if this timeline is right. At least we avoided Catwoman. Ellie visits Joel's grave and leaves coffee beans on it. I guess coffee is some sort of inside joke they had. I remember it being mentioned like once in season 1, so I guess the setup is technically there. I don't know, you may as well have had her place a sniper scope or a guitar string or some reference to those movies he was always watching. Some of you mentioned that a lot of the game nuances haven't translated that well to the show, so I assume this is one of those instances. Anyway, we're in Seattle and ready to avenge Joel. Thankfully, there's still no fungus threat, or any threat really. Ellie and Dina are being loud as all hell, slamming tank hatches that echo down entire city blocks, and covering Take On Me for 3 minutes next to a giant hole in the wall and not even a bird flies by. I'm not really sure what the plan is here, but I guess Abby's group didn't have much of one either, and it worked out for them. The interesting part of this episode is Jeffrey Wright as Isaac, leader of the WLF. He's on the set of the first Saw film and giving a chemistry lesson to a member of the Seraphites. Isaac's confident his side will win because they have better weapons and technology, because that always determines who wins a war.
We have automatic weapons and hospitals, and you lunatics have bolt-action rifles, bows and arrows. So tell me, how are we going to lose?
Anyway, the Seraphites worship some sort of deceased prophet. Thankfully, their slogan, "Feel Her Love," is a little less cringe than "When You're Lost in the Darkness," which always tried to sound mysterious and deep, but really just sounded like the B-side of an Evanescence album. Ellie and Dina come across some of their handiwork in an unguarded building, filled with WLF members who felt the love just a little too hard. And Dina drops a line that reminds me of the time I was at a Seahawks tailgate and saw some genius blow off 2 of his fingers with a firework.
What the fuck is wrong with Seattle?
The rest of the WLF show up and the duo escapes to a transit tunnel. And points were earned. I like this claustrophobic subway train escape. I actually said to myself that I hope Dina doesn't die, which I didn't know I cared about. Well done. I also like how Ellie reveals her immune status by shoving her forearm into an infected's mouth to save Dina. Part of me figured she'd just blab it over the campfire one night like it was no big deal, so I like seeing it conveyed during a high-stakes moment. Anyway, Dina pulls a gun on Ellie, who acts surprised despite not immediately explaining it in the moment. I would have started explaining with my arm still stuck in the infected's mouth, given how quick the trigger finger with some people in this world is. Ellie does the dollar store version of that. I don't know, it's another scene that probably felt bigger on the page than it is on screen. As the audience, we know Ellie can't get infected. We also know that Dina's not going to shoot her. With Joel gone, Ellie is in zero danger whatsoever. And she keeps showing off this bite wound, which is still going to need some antibiotics and a tetanus shot. Instead of thanking her for saving her life, Dina tells Ellie she's pregnant. We jump to Dina's backstory, where she reveals that her family was killed and relates it to how Ellie lost Joel. I guess it's interesting to learn why she's on board with this, but I didn't really need the rationalization, Last of Us. I'm fully on team fuck Abby and her friends. We sell t-shirts on Etsy. She's had like 5 minutes of screen time and her sob story did nothing for me. I honestly doubt it did for many people who haven't played the games. Seriously, let's gut this bitch and wear her flesh on the ride home. So they're trying to flank around and find Nora, but they get attacked by stalkers. Jesse is here and we retreat to the park, where we get to see more of that love being spread.
What the fuck is wrong with Seattle?
We break into the hospital and I'm reminded that Ellie's character traits are basically now just swearing and missing wide open shots. But she corners Nora and takes her out. I guess I like this dynamic of Nora realizing who Ellie is, and Ellie revealing that she already knows the twist of how Joel killed all the Fireflies last season.
He killed everyone in that hospital. I know.
Guys, if I can interrupt, we're way ahead of the reveal here.
This is around the time I realized that I won't be getting the confrontation between Ellie and Abby this season. Which leads to the question of, okay, what am I actually getting then? What are we building towards? Despite the pacing and contrived issues of Season 1, we were always building towards what was going to be some sort of climax or reveal once we got Ellie to the Fireflies. I don't hate the WLF cult war, it's really what's keeping me around, to be honest, but it just kind of feels like it's there so far. I keep thinking back to the Kill Bill movies and how they managed to deliver a satisfying story in just part 1. When you get to the end of that, you just had the 88 fight and the garden duel. It's not the climax, but it's a climax. The final line where it's revealed that her daughter is still alive, it's not just a twist, it reframes the entire story. My point is, you don't leave Kill Bill Part 1 confused, you leave it excited to see the next part. I don't have that here so far, so we're gonna have to do some heavy lifting at the end. If you're wondering where all the flashbacks have been hiding, this episode is your answer. I'm not gonna crap all over this choice, but it's kind of weird seeing a childhood flashback from the point of view of a character who's already dead. But a lot of these flashbacks are pretty good. Good to the point where I can't help but wonder why we didn't get more episodes of this sort of thing before Abby rolled through with her Titleist sponsorship. Did the writers think it was too cliche to start each episode with a flashback? I think it would have been more effective, reminding us repeatedly why we're actually doing this whole Seattle thing. Through a series of birthday flashbacks, we see the surface level degradation of Joel and Ellie's relationship, leading to a tipping point where Joel disagrees with Ellie on how to handle Eugene's infection. Also, Joel Pantoliano shows up and crushes it as Eugene. A+. Alright, cue up the Carmen again. But again, I feel like shoving all the flashbacks in here creates a really jumpy episode that feels like you're just reading Cliff Notes. Rather than play strategically throughout the season, we chucked them all in here with gaps of entire years between them. Like maybe this flashback of Joel covering for Tommy could have been right before the town vote, showing a moment where Tommy dwells on what Joel meant to him. This scene where Ellie reveals to Joel that she burned herself to cover up her infected arm really should have been the first time we learned about it as the audience, rather than this earlier scene with Dina. Joel playing the guitar and singing for Ellie at her birthday would have led to a way more emotional payoff if it was shown before we saw Ellie playing in the music store. With the right back and forth editing, this could have been the most emotional scene of the series. Eugene's scene could have come before I'd forgotten who he was as a character. Maybe we could have seen Joel dwell on this exact moment more while he was still alive, since it ultimately is what drove Ellie away from him. The whole thing is just designed to set up this scene where Ellie makes Joel admit the truth about what happened to the Fireflies, which again isn't new information to us because we just learned in the previous episode that Ellie had already found out about it. It just feels like we've thrown away some of our momentum after tracking down the first member of Abby's team. But it does reaffirm my thoughts that Ellie is way less annoying when she has Joel to balance her out. Anyway, Ellie gets pissed because apparently her life's purpose was to die in that hospital and potentially create a cure. I'm just laughing because I remember season 1 came out and the internet was like, oh my god, it's the best show ever, and I'm sitting here like, it's fine, maybe a 6 out of 10. And now season 2 is out and the internet hates everything about it, and I'm still sitting here like, it's fine, maybe a 6 out of 10. So I'm recording this before the finale came out, so I hope you enjoyed it. I'm sure it was either the best or worst thing ever, depending on whichever camp you were already in. I don't plan to talk about it again, but a good rule of thumb is that there's way too many great shows on to watch something that you think is only halfway decent. So maybe try one of these shows instead. Just kidding, don't watch that one.